Gate security, huh? Is this the best they could do? Rick Dalton barked, voice cutting through the dawn. He laughed, assuming the petite guard before him could not possibly wield real authority. Harper tilted her head slightly, scanning his credentials with unshakable calm. The moment hung between them, electric, a collision of arrogance and unseen power. Before we continue, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You do not want to miss what happens next on the base. Harper's uniform was flawless. Her boots were polished, and her posture carried the quiet weight of someone who had earned every stripe on her sleeve. Her dark eyes never wavered from Rick's mocking stare. "Identification and vehicle pass, please," she said, voice crisp, professional. Rick rolled his eyes, smirking. "Identification? You cannot be serious. I have been coming through this gate for years. 15, to be exact." "I am serious, sir," Harper replied, scanning the laminated badge he tossed toward her. The screen blinked red. She raised an eyebrow, but did not comment on the expiration date. "Your credentials have expired. I cannot authorize entry." Rick's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. "Expired? Come on. This is a federal base. They let anyone with a uniform play soldier these days?" He laughed again, louder, trying to mask the tension creeping into his voice. "I am following regulations," Harper said, voice calm but firm. "Please wait while your clearance is verified." Rick leaned forward, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Listen, Lieutenant, or whatever they are calling you, I have important work to do inside. Maybe try not to slow me down." Her gaze remained steady. "I am doing my job, sir. Please pull over and remain in the designated lane until verification is complete." Rick scoffed and muttered under his breath, words laced with derision. "Rookie, pretty face. All bark, no bite." The silence of the morning amplified every word. A few passing sailors glanced at him, then at Harper, sensing the tension. He expected her to stumble, to flinch. She did not. Minutes dragged. Rick drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, irritation mounting. Harper methodically moved through her duties, greeting each vehicle with the same composed efficiency. She was professional, controlled, precise, the kind of authority he had never encountered at a gate. Rick shook his head and muttered, "Unbelievable." A guard with an attitude. Then the sound of tires on asphalt shifted the atmosphere. A black SUV approached, silent and commanding. The gate sentries straightened. Harper's posture remained unchanged, but there was a subtle shift in the air. Respect, tension, awareness. The vehicle rolled to a stop beside her. The door opened, and 4 men stepped out, clad in black tactical uniforms with the unmistakable sealed trident pinned to their chests. Rick's smirk froze. These were no ordinary sailors. They moved with a quiet precision that radiated authority. The lead SEAL, a tall, broad-shouldered man with gray streaking through his hair, removed his sunglasses and nodded toward Harper. "Major Harper, ma'am. We are due for briefing at 0800. Rick blinked. Major. The words struck him like lightning. The rookie he had been mocking, the one he assumed could not possibly command respect, was being saluted by Navy SEALs. Harper acknowledged the SEALs with a single nod, returning their salute with sharp, practiced efficiency. "Understood, Commander. Proceed to Building 17. I will join shortly." Rick's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His words, which had flowed so easily a moment ago, evaporated. Lieutenant." Harper held up a hand. "No anger, no triumph, only calm authority." "You may proceed, sir." "Drive safely." Rick nodded mutely, the color draining from his face. The arrogance that had carried him through the gate so many times before was gone. In its place was a sudden heavy awareness. He had underestimated someone whose quiet strength commanded respect without a single raised voice. As he drove through the gate, the SUV carrying the SEALs reflected in his rearview mirror. Harper stood alone again under the golden morning light, scanning the next ID with unwavering focus. The base moved around her, routine and relentless, yet everything seemed to pause for a moment in her presence. Rick's truck rumbled over the asphalt, but the sound felt hollow compared to the realization pounding in his chest. Respect is not worn like a badge. It is earned through composure, authority, and action. He could feel it now. a lesson etched into the rhythm of the morning. Harper's presence alone had shifted the balance of power, silently, effortlessly. And Rick Dalton, who had thought he understood authority, had just been schooled by a guard. Behind him the gates swung open. Harper's eyes briefly met his in the side mirror. No judgment, no gloating, only quiet professionalism, a mirror of the courage and discipline he had so easily mocked. And in that instant, Rick realized something he had never admitted to anyone. He was out of his depth. The black SUV disappeared toward the inner compound, and Harper returned to her duties. The morning resumed, but for Rick, nothing would ever feel routine again. The morning sun stretched across Naval Base San Diego, glinting off the hangars and patrol boats. But Harper was already moving. Her steps were quiet, precise, each bootfall deliberate on the concrete. The events at the gate had faded into the routine of the base. Yet the air still carried the tension from just moments before. Inside the security office, Harper sat at her desk, scanning reports with a practiced eye. Visitors, contractors, delivery logs, all mundane, all critical. But in her mind, she was somewhere else entirely, retracing the path that had led her here. Years ago, she had been among the few women in naval special warfare. The missions were classified, the stakes high, and the cost heavier than anyone outside could comprehend. She had commanded respect, not by title, but by competence, by calm in chaos, by decisions made in moments that demanded clarity. Some missions had left scars that no medal could ever recognize. Comrades lost, friends betrayed by fate, silent victories and invisible wounds. Now she walked among her trainees and junior officers, teaching, observing, commanding. At the gate, Rick Dalton had mocked her, and yet she had shown no frustration. That was her strength, restraint, control, the quiet power of someone who had seen the worst and returned unbroken. Meanwhile, Rick's day had taken a slower, humbling turn. He had expected obedience, not a lesson in authority. Throughout the hangars, he caught glimpses of Harper's influence. Crew members followed her instructions without hesitation. Even the most hardened SEALs deferred to her cues, their respect unspoken but unmistakable. Rick found himself reflecting, a grudging awareness building. He had underestimated her entirely. During a brief lunch break, Harper leaned against a filing cabinet, sipping coffee as she reviewed a base security report. Her face was calm, almost serene, yet every line carried weight. Every decision she made had consequences. Every observation she recorded could save lives. The uniform at the gate had not been a costume. It was her command in motion, her history condensed into presence and authority. Rick approached cautiously. He wanted to speak, to bridge the gulf of embarrassment and pride, but words failed him. His usual confidence was absent. All he could manage was a nod as he walked past. Harper's eyes met his for a moment, not judgmental, not accusatory, only acknowledging. That fleeting glance said everything. Authority does not need justification. It needs recognition. As the afternoon sun climbed, the base grew busier. Harper conducted routine checks and briefings, always attentive, always calm. Rick lingered nearby, observing the rhythm of her work. She moved like water over rocks, smooth, efficient, impossible to obstruct. His arrogance from the morning had dissolved entirely, replaced by a complex mixture of awe and unease. Her colleagues noticed it too, though none would comment openly. Harper's presence had a ripple effect, subtle but undeniable. Contractors hesitated, sailors straightened, supervisors deferred, all without a single raised voice. It was a reputation built on action, history, and consistent professionalism. Later, as Harper reviewed a security drill report, her mind flashed to her time in the field, the missions she had led, the split-second decisions, the lives that had depended on her clarity. She carried the quiet weight of experience, unspoken, yet omnipresent. Every day at the gate, every interaction, even one like Rick Dalton's, reminded her that authority could be challenged, but it could never be faked. Rick's thoughts were no longer focused on mocking her. He replayed the moment at the gate endlessly, the calm, unwavering gaze, the sharp precision in her movements, the SEALs saluting her without hesitation. He had known arrogance. He had known pride. But he had never seen authority like this. Earned, quiet, unyielding. By late afternoon, Harper returned to the gate to relieve another officer. The sun cast long shadows over the asphalt. Rick happened to pass by, hands stuffed in his pockets, eyes averted at first. Yet he could not ignore her presence. She stood at attention, scanning IDs, issuing commands, yet completely unbothered. The same calm force that had frozen him earlier in the day remained. He stopped for a moment. This time he did not mock. He did not scoff. He simply watched, silently acknowledging the lesson he had learned. Respect is earned, never assumed. Harper caught his gaze briefly, just enough to convey awareness. No words were necessary. Her eyes spoke the truth of experience, the weight of her reputation, and the quiet authority that could not be challenged lightly. As Rick walked away, he felt something shift deep inside. Pride, ego, even arrogance, all tempered by the undeniable reality of Harper's presence. He realized that this encounter was no longer about the gate, the badge, or a momentary humiliation. It was about understanding the essence of authority and respect. The day ended with Harper returning to her office, sitting quietly as the base lights dimmed and the hum of machinery settled. She reflected on the morning, on the way men like Rick could misjudge competence, and on the quiet, unwavering path she had always followed. There was no need for applause, no need for recognition. Her history, her training, and her presence spoke for themselves, and somewhere beyond the perimeter. Rick Dalton drove slowly back toward his temporary quarters, humbled, thoughtful, and profoundly aware that he had glimpsed a level of professionalism and strength far beyond what he had ever encountered. The following morning, Naval Base San Diego hummed with the predictable rhythm of routine operations. Yet beneath the calm, Harper sensed the undercurrent of tension that never truly left a military installation. Every contractor, every sailor, every vehicle had a role to play, and any deviation could ripple into disaster. Harper moved through the hangars with quiet authority. Her eyes scanned every ID, every vehicle, every team, noting inconsistencies with practiced precision. Today, she was conducting a routine inspection of civilian maintenance crews, including Rick Dalton's team. Rick spotted her first, standing near a large supply crate, clipboard in hand, eyes narrowing at a checklist. For a moment he hesitated. Her calm presence still unsettled him, yet a part of his pride urged him to maintain composure. "Morning, sir," Harper said to another contractor. She spoke with efficiency, crisp commands that left no room for hesitation. When her gaze fell on Rick, he could feel the weight of scrutiny, silent but unyielding. Rick shifted nervously. He wanted to joke, to deflect, but the morning's lesson lingered. He muttered sarcastically to a colleague, "Let's see if the gate guard can handle a real inspection." Harper caught the remark, with only a subtle flicker of her gaze. No confrontation, no escalation, but Rick could sense that she had registered it. He swallowed, suddenly aware of the quiet discipline he had underestimated. The inspection continued. Harper moved from vehicle to vehicle, asking precise questions, checking logs, and ensuring compliance. Her questions were exacting, her observations meticulous. Rick noticed the other crew members obeyed without hesitation. Even the most cynical mechanics fell silent under her gaze. Then, without warning, the alarm blared. A sharp, piercing tone that immediately raised every spine on the base. The words followed almost instantly. "Unauthorized vehicle breach, outer perimeter." Panic flickered through some of the contractors. Rick froze mid-step, eyes wide. Harper did not move faster. She did not panic. Instead, she activated her radio with calm authority. "All units, code red. Lockdown protocols initiated. I want all civilians secured and all perimeter gates monitored. Move now." Her voice carried certainty, precision, and command. Rick watched in disbelief as the teams scrambled, following her orders without hesitation. The contractors, the sailors, the security teams, all responding to the woman he had mocked just a day ago. Rick instinctively moved toward a maintenance panel, hoping to help, though his hands trembled slightly. Harper noticed him immediately. "Dalton, clear the main corridor! Your team is under my direction. Follow instructions." Rick hesitated but obeyed, the sting of humiliation tempered by the undeniable necessity of her command. Harper moved like a conductor orchestrating a symphony. SEALs took positions at checkpoints. Security teams monitored entry points. Communication flowed seamlessly through her. Every decision, every order executed with precision. Rick had only seen her at a distance, but now he realized the depth of her authority. Then came a moment that would stay with him forever. A small explosion of debris erupted near a young sailor, caught by the shock of an unsecured door. Harper dove instinctively, pushing him to safety with a swift motion. Rick's heart pounded. This was not theatrics. This was instinct, training, and courage fused in a single life-saving moment. The threat was neutralized within minutes, the alarm silenced, and the lockdown lifted. Rick leaned against a vehicle, sweat on his brow, staring at Harper. She adjusted her cap, straightened her uniform, and returned to the checklist as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Rick's mind raced. The woman he had dismissed, mocked, and belittled had just commanded a real crisis with the authority of someone twice his years in the field. Every movement, every decision had been deliberate, measured, perfect. He remembered the salute from the SEALs the day before. He remembered the word Major echoing in his ears. But today he had seen it in action. Not in title, not in recognition, but in how she carried herself, how she led, how she protected others. Rick felt a shift inside him. Humility, awe, and a grudging respect mixed in a cocktail of emotions he had never experienced before. He could not dismiss her now. He could not argue. He could only watch, learning in real time what authority, experience, and calm courage truly looked like. By the time the inspection concluded, the contractors had been verified, the base secured, and Harper had returned to her office, notes meticulously filed. Rick lingered near the hangar, replaying every second, every instruction, every decisive action. He realized that mockery and arrogance had no place in the presence of someone like her. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the concrete, Harper glanced toward the gate once more. Her eyes were sharp, vigilant, unyielding. Rick approached slowly, not with bravado, not with sarcasm, but with a quiet acknowledgement of the lessons he had been forced to learn. For the first time that day, Rick Dalton understood that true authority does not seek recognition. It demands respect through action, composure, and unwavering dedication. And Major Harper had just redefined that truth for him. The base was quieter than usual that morning, almost deceptively so. Rick Dalton moved through the maintenance area, still processing the events of the previous day. He had expected arrogance to dominate his interactions, but Harper's quiet authority had unsettled him profoundly. The calm shattered abruptly. A loud siren blared across the base, echoing off the hangars. Red lights flashed along the perimeter. The intercom crackled with a terse announcement. Unauthorized access. Outer perimeter breached. Lockdown in effect. Contractors froze. Sailors scrambled. Heartbeats thundered. Rick's hands shook as he realized this was no drill. Harper emerged instantly, her movements precise, almost rehearsed. She barked orders into her radio, each word measured, each command executed with clarity that left no room for hesitation. Unit 1, secure the west gate. Unit 2, block all vehicle access to the hangar. Dalton, follow me. Keep your team in the designated safe zones. Move. Rick hesitated. He wanted to argue, to take initiative in his own way. Yet the chaos had a clarity he could not ignore. Harper's voice was steady, unwavering. Obedience was not optional. It was essential. As they approached the breach point, the source became clear. A small civilian transport truck had bypassed security sensors, weaving erratically toward sensitive areas. SEALs were already positioning themselves, but Harper coordinated them with precision. Dalton, hold the north exit. Ensure no one enters. Do not move until I authorize it, she commanded. Rick's pride flared. I can help. he insisted, fumbling with the gate panel. Harper glanced at him sharply, the hint of impatience in her eyes. "You will follow my instructions exactly," she said, voice cutting through the sirens. "Do not improvise." He nodded quickly, chastened. Every instinct told him to act independently, but Harper's authority grounded him. He followed, his hands moving over the controls under her supervision. The truck's driver ignored orders, accelerating toward the hangar. Harper shouted through the radio, deploying the SEAL response team with rapid precision. Barricades were set, entry points sealed, contractors corralled. Every move calculated, every decision deliberate. Then chaos struck. A small explosion from an unsecured cargo container sent debris flying. A young sailor was caught off guard, stumbling backward into the path of falling metal. Harper reacted instantly. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, pushing him to safety. Rick's stomach dropped. She risked herself to save another, without thought, without hesitation. Rick moved to assist with the gate, following her previous instructions, but his eyes stayed on Harper. The calm efficiency, the decisive actions, the instinctive courage. He realized she was not merely performing a duty. She was embodying command, presence, and protection in its purest form. Minutes felt like hours. The breach was neutralized with no casualties. Alarms silenced. The base returned to controlled activity. Harper surveyed the area, her face serene, almost unreadable. Yet every eye followed her, every command respected. Rick exhaled slowly, leaning against the maintenance truck. Sweat beaded on his brow, adrenaline still coursing through him. For the first time, he understood what respect truly meant. It was not demanded, it was earned. And Major Harper had earned it in a matter of minutes under extreme pressure. "Dalton," she said, voice softening slightly as she approached. "Your team is secure. Stand down." Rick looked at her, words failing him. For once, he could not hide behind sarcasm, humor, or ego. He only nodded, silently acknowledging what he had witnessed. Harper's gaze met his for a moment. No pride, no triumph, only measured professionalism. The sun broke through the clouds, casting long golden streaks across the asphalt. The chaos had ended, but the lesson lingered. Harper had demonstrated courage under fire, authority in action, and leadership that could not be challenged by arrogance or mockery. As she returned to her patrol post, Rick followed at a distance, no longer critical, no longer mocking. His previous arrogance had been replaced by a heavy, humbling respect. He realized that true leadership is quiet but unyielding, commanding without shouting, protecting without seeking recognition. He remembered the salute from the SEALs, the word major, and now the reality of her skill, courage, and composure. Each moment reinforced the truth. Authority is earned, not assumed, and respect is never given freely. Rick Dalton had come to the base expecting routine, control, and superiority. Instead, he had faced a force of discipline, courage, and quiet power that challenged everything he thought he knew. Harper had redefined what it meant to lead, through action, presence, and unwavering composure under life-threatening pressure. By the time the dust settled and the sun dipped lower, Harper returned to her office. Rick lingered near the hangar, silently reflecting on the events. Humility, awe, and a profound understanding filled him. The woman he had once dismissed had shown him a depth of skill and courage he could scarcely imagine. And as the last echoes of the alarms faded, Rick Dalton finally understood. Some lessons could not be mocked, only learned, and some authority could not be questioned, only respected. The base was quiet again, the adrenaline of the morning's breach slowly ebbing away. Harper walked the perimeter with calm precision, checking vehicles, doors, and gates, ensuring everything was secure. Her presence radiated authority, yet it was quiet, unobtrusive, a force that commanded respect without demanding it. Rick Dalton watched from a distance, his earlier arrogance gone, replaced by a deep sense of humility. He had witnessed her at the gate, seen her orchestrate a complex inspection, and now observed her handle a real breach with courage and precision. Every movement she made, every decision she gave, reinforced the truth he could no longer deny. Major Harper was extraordinary. As Harper paused to review a logbook, Rick approached cautiously. His steps were hesitant, unsure, yet determined. He stopped a few feet away, unsure how to begin. Words failed him. For the first time, he realized that no sarcasm, no boast, no joke could bridge the gap between his ego and her earned authority. Harper looked up, her eyes meeting his. There was no scolding, no judgment, only calm acknowledgement. Rick swallowed hard. "Major, His voice trailed off. He struggled to find the words to express his respect, his humility, and the lessons he had learned over the past 2 days. Harper's expression remained composed. She waited patiently, expectantly. Rick took a deep breath. "I misjudged you," he said finally, voice low but sincere. "I mocked your authority, your rank, your presence. And I was wrong. You are remarkable." Harper nodded once, curtly, acknowledging his words without embellishment. Respect, she knew, could not be demanded through confession. It had to be earned and recognized. He hesitated a moment longer, then instinctively straightened his back. His hand went to his cap in a military-style salute. It was awkward at first, not a practiced motion, but heartfelt. The gesture was more than formality. It was recognition. Harper's eyes softened just slightly. Slowly, she returned the salute with crisp precision, a mirror of the authority and experience that had impressed him from the beginning. The moment was brief, but weighty. Rick felt a strange release, a quiet pride mingled with humility. He had learned a lesson not from lectures or manuals, but from witnessing action, courage, and discipline in a single individual. Respect, he realized, could not be assumed. It had to be seen, felt, and earned. For Harper, the day continued as always. Reports were logged, personnel checked, and the base operated smoothly under her watch. Yet the encounter with Rick Dalton left a subtle imprint. One less arrogance-filled contractor, one more recognition of true authority. Rick lingered briefly, observing the SEALs working alongside her, the sailors moving efficiently under her direction. Each interaction reinforced what he had learned. Leadership was not about ego or rank alone. It was about composure, decisiveness, courage, and respect for those who follow you. Finally, he turned to leave, walking slowly toward the exit. Harper watched him go, not with judgment, but with the quiet assurance of someone who had fulfilled her duty. Her focus shifted back to the base, the responsibilities never-ending, the vigilance unwavering. As Rick's truck disappeared down the perimeter road, he glanced at the gate one last time. Sunlight glinted off the metal, reflecting Harper's image in the glass panels. He whispered to himself almost reverently, "Major Harper." "Yes, ma'am." The base settled into its routine once more. The tension of the morning was gone, but the lessons lingered. Harper returned to her desk, reviewing reports, making notes, her calm authority as unshakable as ever. She did not seek recognition, applause, or gratitude. It was not needed. Her actions, her presence, and the respect she commanded said it all. Rick Dalton, on the other hand, drove away transformed. The lesson was etched into his mind. Never underestimate authority, never mock competence, and always respect courage and experience, even when it comes in an unexpected form. The breach, the inspection, the confrontation at the gate, all had led to this quiet closure. A salute exchanged between two people, a bridge built on acknowledgement and respect. The lesson was simple but profound. True leadership does not announce itself. It earns recognition through action and integrity. And at Naval Base San Diego, under the fading light of a golden afternoon, Major Harper continued her watch. Unseen yet present, commanding yet quiet, respected yet humble.